this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super, everyone is stunned that Goku has just been defeated by Frost. But the torch has now been passed to everyone's favorite Namekian warrior, Piccolo, who prepares to throw down with Frieza's doppelganger counterpart from Universe 6. Just a word of warning, if you have not watched this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super, just be warned, there are going to be some spoilers ahead. There's a really big twist in this week's episode, which is all about Frost, so I would highly recommend going to check out the episode first before you watch the rest of this review. So, this week's episode right here was awesome. Easily my favorite episode of Dragon Ball Super for a number of reasons. One, Frost is awesome. At first, he seemed like he was just a regular nice guy. In this episode, we get to figure out that he is one hell of a bullshit artist. Another reason this episode was so great was just because we got to see the return of Piccolo on the battlefield in a tournament setting. Piccolo is calculating, he's awesome, he has a commanding presence, and frankly, he's just a cool character. He's always been one of the most badass characters from Dragon Ball, and he definitely demonstrated why in this week's episode. But the big thing about this one is we get to learn why Frost was able to defeat Goku so easily. And the big twist is Frost himself is just like Frieza. He's actually not a nice guy at all. He's actually putting on this big act to basically secretly take control of Universe 6. All of these bad guys that he's going after, all of these wars that he's supposedly stopping, no, he's actually puppeteering all of these events, starting these conflicts, and actually profiteering from them. If anything, he's a much more cunning version of Frieza, hiding all of his secret abilities, and he has one thing that Frieza doesn't have, which are these little spikes on his hands, which emit this natural poison from his body, which allows him to disorient his opponents so that he can just completely wail on them. And that's what he did to Goku in last week's episode, and that's what he ends up doing to Piccolo in this week's episode. But there is a nice little twist to the end. So, the battle between Piccolo and Frost is pretty standard, but it's also really exciting. Piccolo just immediately starts to charge his special beam cannon, and throughout the entire fight, he's just dodging all of Frost's abilities, his punches, his kicks, his ki blasts, so that he can power up this ultimate move so that he can take down Frost in one shot. And for the most part, his plan does work. He actually manages to dodge all these abilities. He creates clones of himself with the after image technique, which Frost just ends up destroying with a big energy blast from himself. And it almost seems like he is going to defeat Frost when he stretches out one of his arms, which wraps around him, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to hold on and just blast him with a special beam cannon at point blank range, when suddenly you notice that Frost pulls his arm up and ends up poisoning Piccolo, walks right up to him and hits him with a ki blast at point blank range, putting this massive hole in his body, effectively winning the battle. The thing is, Jacko the Galactic Patrolman was watching the entire time, and he tells the referee, wait a minute, something's not right, this guy is cheating, make sure to check his body, and the referee checks, and yes, he is using poison, and apparently this weapon is considered unfair, so they actually decide to disqualify Frost, and Piccolo technically ends up winning. He heals himself, and that's the end. It could have been simple right there, but no, Vegeta is not going to have this at all, because he realizes that if there's another guy like Frieza in the universe, someone's going to have to take him down, and if it's going to be anyone, it's going to be him. This is the perfect opportunity to wail on this guy, and he decides that he's still going to fight against him anyway. So Frost is going to stay in the ring, Vegeta's going to fight against Frost, and oh my god, it's gonna kick ass! So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super? They did a great job of actually hiding the fact that Frost is a bad guy. I think that's one of the greatest twists that I've seen so far. It does kind of make sense. There's just no way there could be a being like Frieza in any universe that could actually be good. The only difference is Frost just, he hides all of his power, he hides all of his evil, and that's how he's been able to sort of like take over the galaxy and win everyone's favor. And it's really funny and kind of obvious when you think about it, because he certainly does put up something of a really overly friendly friendly front. And it does make sense that he would have those secret abilities with the poison. If you remember last episode when Goku blocked the attack, everything finally starts to add up. I'm kind of curious though, like, I think the poison actually does come from his body, so it's like a natural ability, so I'm not quite sure why he was disqualified. Maybe it's not a natural ability, I'm not sure. Some of the translations that I was watching for this episode were a little off. The subtitles were very poor, and it's an episode that I can't even find anymore because the subs just appear and disappear out of nowhere. What I will say is the episode was entertaining, and it was mostly action, so action fans are definitely going to enjoy that. All the scenes with Piccolo were great. Him using some of his tried and true techniques, the stretching arms, the after image technique, the frickin' special beam cannon, which was so powerful and charged up that it actually broke through that barrier that was created by Vados. I think that is pretty freaking awesome. That shows how powerful Piccolo is, that he could destroy something that was created by something which is on the same level as like a god of destruction, if not more powerful. So definitely a testament to his abilities. Frost in this episode was also real cool, just the way he moved, the way he looked when he was using all of his ki blasts and charging beam attacks. Everything just looked really solid in this episode. Of course, it could always look better. That's just the case for Dragon Ball Super. It's not the best animated show in the world, but still, it's really exciting, and it's something that any Dragon Ball fan should definitely see at least once. Especially this episode right here, which I still believe to be the most unique episode of Dragon Ball Super thus far, and probably my favorite one, although I cannot wait to see Vegeta wail on Frost in the next episode. I think it's going to be awesome. Spoiler warning for the preview for the next episode, just looking at it, it looks like there's also going to be some involvement from the character of Hito, or Heat. He's the guy who I think might even have a connection with Frost as well, mostly because their names are like Heat and Frost, and you can just see sort of like that connection there. I've always theorized that he's maybe like the final form of Frieza's race as well. Maybe he's missing a tail. Some people have theorized that he's actually Cell from that universe as well. I think that would be a pretty interesting twist as well, but frankly, I kind of hope he's just something completely new and unique that we haven't seen from the series thus far. Kind of like Batomo and Vegeta, who I really can't wait to see in battle. And of course, there's Kiabe or Kaba, the Saiyan from Universe 6. So, a lot of stuff to get excited about here, especially the prospect that Frost is going to be sticking around and fighting against a Vegeta. That's going to be really awesome. That being said, this was an exciting episode. I really did enjoy this one a lot. Again, my biggest complaint is just artwork and animation could be better, but this was still an exciting episode, so I'm going to give this one right here a 4 out of 5. Piccolo fans, Dragon Ball fans, check out this week's episode. It was action-packed and a lot of fun. But if you did watch this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. What did you think of the battle between Frost and Piccolo? And what did you think of the big twist that Frost is actually an evil dude? And what do you want to see from the rest of this tournament arc and Dragon Ball Super? Please tell me in the comment section below. You guys are awesome. Thank you for watching this review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and follow us on social media. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!